Is music theory necessary to learn as a guitarist or a musician or whatever you play? But I play guitar, so thinking about that. And it comes up a lot that people seem to have this aversion to music theory of like why they need to learn it, why do I need to practice scales and arpeggios, things like that. And one thing I've noticed from teaching for the past 10 years is that people want to learn the songs they want to play, and that's cool. So we'll go to learn those songs, and 99% of the time, what do you think it is that makes up those songs? It's elements of scales and arpeggios, and chords, and things like that. So it's the language or the framework that the songs are built off of. So in a way, you've heard this before, that music is a language. So why don't we learn it like a language? And you can apply rules of the alphabet and grammar. And I'm always trying to think of analogies. Maybe you could comment and see what resonates with you and what you think might be a good analogy. But it's like, the letters, we literally call it the musical alphabet. So those are like your letters and your things that build up a song. Maybe the song or the solo is a paragraph or a chapter or a story altogether. So these are elements that make up the songs. So I find students that trust the process and do the exercises and learn their triads and learn their scales, they learn so much faster, and they absorb the information, and you recognize patterns, and you learn to play things by ear. Some people are very gifted and perhaps have perfect pitch and can just hear something and play it and not know what it is, and I find that to be a rare innate quality. It could be developed too, but anybody else, you could practice to learn by ear and to play what you feel. And learning the theory or music language, music grammar, I like to think of it that way more, like music theory. It's just theoretical. But I like the phrase like music language, or the language of music. You can learn these things and identify these patterns quickly. And then when you go to learn songs, especially like pop songs, rock songs, or blues, it's like when you learn 100 different songs, it's almost as if you already know it, or it's something familiar, like you've seen it before in some chord shape or some scale, and you can identify it quickly. And sometimes the tricky part is the speed or the phrasing. The rhythm a lot of times is really hard, the timing, and just the technical facility you physically have to have on your instrument to execute those ideas. And so to gain that technical facility, you can do this through practicing theory, or even being aware of the theory in the songs that you like to learn. And you can take that stuff and write your own songs with it, recognize patterns. Especially if you learn like a whole album by a band, you'll start to see their tendencies and certain keys they like to use, certain scales they like to use over and over, and certain chord shapes that they use. And then as you go to learn other songs by that band, for example, you can almost predict what they're going to do and kind of deduce like, oh, this guitarist, he would do that in open position. He's rarely up here, or vice versa. It's like, oh, he's probably going to be doing that up the neck because that's their tendency. And you could recognize those patterns and analyze it that way. Because art is, I believe, a combination of the feeling and the mind. So you have the feeling, which is, I think, where a lot of us want to get. We just want to play what we feel. I just want to play off a feeling and play what I hear. But then you need some facility and mental capacity combined with that sometimes, It's like, for example, I've known a lot of people that are like, oh, I hear all this great music, like I have all these ideas in my head, I just don't know how to do them. I don't know how to execute it. I don't know how to do it. So it's like you need the craft of the art and the facility to execute that, or vice versa. Some people that are like, they know all the scales, they know all the theory, but they can't play anything that feels good. They can't put it all together. So it's definitely a balance. And I think one of my greatest influences on that was Bruce Lee, if you know his Be Water speech, and where he talks about the successful combination of theory, and I'm paraphrasing this, with only theory alone, you might become a mechanical man, and with only feeling, you might just be a dreamer or kind of lost without any direction. You can go watch that interview, the Be Water speech. It's really amazing. You can apply that to any form of art, which is why it was so amazing. But then he goes on to say it's the successful combination of the both, the feeling and the mind in balance, is where we want to get to. And sometimes when you're starting off as a musician, it can be necessary to spend a lot of time with the technique and learning the facility, because you can go ahead and learn songs and go for it, but sometimes that reveals where certain inadequacies can be as far as playing it in time, playing it cleanly, memorizing it, retaining the song, not having to use tabs for reference all the time. So I'm just kind of ranting. I'll talk about this more, and I'd appreciate any comments and start a conversation about this. It's something I'm very passionate about. I always love theory. I love studying theory, and but I also love to not think and just turn it off and try to forget everything I know and just play from the heart. So it's a balance of those two things in perpetual motion all the time. So yeah, just something to think about. And I'm always learning, and I think sometimes just talking about it and getting it out and articulating these ideas can help just try to arrive at a better conclusion that can benefit and add value and help you grow and bring you to a better place as a player. So one final thought I would say is to keep an open mind, which is very important, and we've heard this over and over again, but I see it reflected in a lot of musicians and students that I know that are just very close-minded. It's like they've made their mind up that I don't like theory, and I don't see why it's useful, and I'm not going to learn it. And one thing that I notice is in students like that, when we come across a song and the passage is straight up the scale, literally straight up a pentatonic, straight up or down a major scale, and I say that, oh, it's straight down the scale, and they're like, I don't know what that means, and I'm like, yeah, because you're closed-minded about it. If you just accept it and learn it, you could have learned this piece almost instantaneously. You could have heard it, identified it, your fingers have the facility to execute it, and there you go. It's like, it's right there. Or friends that write songs and talk about why they don't need to learn scales, and then they write something and it's like you realize everything you write is in the key of A minor, and this passage goes up a scale, and this passage goes up a scale, or this uses a certain sequence or a certain fragment of the scale. So it's almost like we can't escape it. And it's just more of a shift in your mindset or your perspective on how you look at it. So just keep an open mind, and you might be surprised with how it can benefit you and what you could learn and your capabilities to play by ear and to learn and retain musical pieces very quickly and efficiently. So there you go. And driving back from Mammoth right now. It's July 4th. I did some snowboarding, so I am paying attention to the road. My phone's just here on the side, so I apologize if it's gone out of frame a bit, but I am being safe. I just had this idea and this thought, and I just wanted to document and share it. So hopefully gets a conversation started and gets you thinking some different ways how you could add music theory and ideas to help you progress as a musician. Thanks.